Oh man, this might be it. This might be it right here. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. There we go. Oh my goodness. After many long months, we finally hit it. Dormammu. All right, guys. Yes, as you can see, we finally unlocked Dormammu after many months, right, of trying to accumulate the gear to get the characters to even to go into each individual nodes here, or sections, I should say, of Dark Dimension 5. We have finally done it. Able to get Rogue, able to bring her in, and finally able to complete the darn thing. I'm very excited about that, but wanted to talk about a couple of things here in this video. Of course, we got to talk about lessons learned, right? What have I learned after going through Dark Dimension 5? I'm gonna also talk about what I did use and why I used it in DD5. Talk about some things that I would have made, or some changes that I would have made to the lineups that I did choose going into it. And then also talk about some top recommendations as well, right? Like, what would I recommend now for City, for Global, for Cosmic, for Legendary? Gonna go through all of that here, guys, in this video today. So sit back, relax, and let's get into it right now. All right, guys, welcome back. So like I said, lots to talk about here in this video. The first thing, of course, I want to talk about the characters that I used and why I used them, what I would have changed in regards to some of those characters, in regards to the lineups of those characters, top recommendations that I have for City, Global, Cosmic, Legendary, and of course, towards the very end, we'll go into the biggest lessons that I've learned here from Dark Dimension 5. So let's start off at the top here. For my City characters, this is who I did use. I used Shang-Chi, I used OG Spidey, I used Ghost Spider, Scarlet Spider, and I used Cloak. Squirrel Girl is actually a character that I just recently brought up. I didn't use it for the City section, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. I should say this too as well, in terms of criteria. I did have a criteria for who I selected for Dark Dimension 5. Just overall arching criteria as opposed to individual characters. Let's talk about it, right? So the first thing was, I wanted to bring in characters to Dark Dimension 5 that I was going to have value for outside of Dark Dimension 5, right? So whether it be raids or arena, those are my two priority game modes. That's who I thought about bringing into Dark Dimension 5. Secondly, the criteria, the second criteria for me was, okay, out of those arena and raid characters, which characters are sort of the cheaper options out of those? That wasn't always the case. There are some cases where I did choose some characters that weren't necessarily the cheaper of those options, and I'll talk about that. I'll talk about why as well. The third criteria for me is, okay, well, we have these origin trait characters, right? So there's Mystic, there's Bio, there's Tech, there's Skill, there's Mutant. I try to limit the amount, like I tried not to go with more than 5 characters per origin trait. I just didn't want to. That would be really taxing in terms of being able to accumulate the gear necessary in order to be able to go into Dark Dimension 5. So that was also something that I thought about as well when it comes to selecting my characters. So with that being said, let's dive into why I chose these characters. So Shang-Chi, raids, makes sense. A sensational character. Yes, definitely would use him. Now, Cloak, while I use him in the Mystic Doom raids, and you could probably ask the question, well, why not also use Dagger? Same situation, right? In terms of expense, Dagger is 72 mini uniques, Cloak is 54 mini uniques. Cloak is also the better plug and play character out of the two characters anyways. So I found that that I would kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Number one, get more value out of Cloak because of what he's able to do outside of being with the tandem, and also him being a cheaper character. And I also didn't want to go with Dagger because she was also another Mystic character, and there's a lot of Mystic characters that I wanted to use in Dark Dimension 5, so therefore I went against using Dagger. And yes, the value there for Cloak was pretty high. He was pretty good there. So was Shang-Chi in Dark Dimension 5. Now, my other 3 characters were all web warriors that I use in the Doom bio raids right now, so definitely going to be value there. I went with Ghost Spider and Scarlet Spider because they were cheaper options, right? So 36 mini uniques between for both of them, both of those characters. Ghost Spider is also from a hero unique perspective. She is alien spores and not O's or Oz formula. So therefore I thought that made a lot of sense for me. to use Ghost Spider. She was also really good in Dark Dimension as well. And I went with OG Spidey, and the reason why is because Scarlet Spider, while he was cheap, also I need characters that will also help me to get through these nodes with at least like slightly minimal headache, right? And Scarlet Spider didn't really do anything in Dark Dimension 5, and I kind of knew that going in because of other players that had already used Scarlet Spider. And I was thinking about bringing in Spider-Punk, and I heard the same thing about Spider-Punk, and I'm like, okay, well, I don't need two duds in Dark Dimension 5. So I decided to bring in Spider-Man because he actually provided a little bit more value in terms of his kit and what he was able to do. So therefore, I thought that there was value in bringing in Spidey, even though he was 54 mini uniques and more expensive than Spider-Punk. I thought that the value definitely would have been there in regards to defense down, stun, things like that. I thought would have been incredibly valuable. If I were to make some tweaks to this lineup here, and one of the recommendations that I would probably also give as well is Squirrel Girl. Squirrel Girl is amazing. You need it for the Scourge event right now. She's probably one of the better plug and play characters in MSF right now at this period. So she would provide a lot of value. Do consider though that she is kind of expensive, 72 mini uniques. So that may deter you a little bit when you're sort of making your decision. But I would say that there's probably not many better characters than Squirrel Girl if you're considering efficiency from like going through the nodes as quickly as possible than Squirrel Girl would, and also then be able to provide you some value outside of that as well. I think Squirrel Girl is pretty good. I would still go against Dagger. She's a mystic character, very expensive. I still just never gonna feel comfortable about that. Although I will say, if I had Dagger and Cloak together for some of these nodes, yeah, it would have went a lot quicker. Miles is also another character I also would have considered too, just for the sake of his kit being more useful than Scarlet Spider. Slows with his special, the disrupt with his ultimate, the basic being able to clear buffs. I thought that would have been pretty good too. And we already talked about Spider-Punk. There's really no other character that I probably would consider bringing into Dark Dimension 5 City. But let's jump over into Global and let's talk about that, right? So for Global, this one was a little bit more straightforward for me. Well, I could think mostly all of them are straightforward anyways, but for Global, I went with Captain Sam, I went with Dr. Doom, I went with Emma, Sharon Carter, and then Lady Deathstrike. Once again, as you can see, all of these characters, right, they're useful in multiple game modes. Captain Sam and raids, everywhere except for maybe Arena. Doom, okay, enough said. Emma, solid Arena character, really kind of extended the test of time, really, from just her kit just being useful everywhere. And yes, is she needed at G16? Where I'm at right now in Arena, I don't know if I will be able to do as well without a G16 Emma, to be honest with you. So yes, I think she's worth it. Sharon Carter was sensational as well. I chose her over Maria Hill, and the reason why I chose her over Maria Hill is because I wanted more control in my nodes. So Sharon Carter has an ability to clear all positive effects on an enemy, a single target with her ultimate. She can also stun that character. She has an ability block, a 2-turn ability block with her special, which can also apply defense down. She has a slow on her base. I mean, there's a lot of really valuable uses that I can get out of Sharon Carter. So while I would have liked the healing from Maria Hill, I liked the control that I would be able to get out of Sharon Carter better. And then also as well, keeping in mind that I did also choose Shang-Chi, who's a skill character. Captain Sam is a lock, skill character. I would have needed to, I'm looking at, hey man, how many skill characters am I going to try to bring in here? I didn't really want to double down on Maria Hill and Sharon Carter as skill characters. And then of course, later on, Kestrel, right? I didn't want to try to do too much on the skill characters. So therefore I went with Sharon Carter. Maria Hill is a consideration right now for she's also probably a recommended character too, a character that I would recommend for Global. Although I still may skip bringing her up because of Agatha, who I am using right now in my Arena, and I probably would prefer to put that gear on her. So there's a possibility too that if I were to go back into Dark Dimension, I would, from going back into the Dark Dimension, I may consider Agatha. Also, Agatha is a mystic gear too, so I would never recommend Agatha as probably a first run either way. And Lady Deathstrike was amazing. No other really changes there. Some other characters that are maybes. I talked about Wong, mystic character. Talked about Agatha, mystic character. I also considered Kate. Kate's pretty cheap and she's a tech character. She's 36 mini uniques. But there are some other tech characters that I did use that made me go against this. Doom being dual trait has tech. Kestrel being dual trait has tech, and some other characters that I used as well later on, which you'll see, also had tech gear too. So that's the reason why I kind of went against the idea of using Kate Bishop here. Also, I think her mini or hero unique is, augmented molecular cloth. I also needed that as well. I think Shang-Chi does take molecular cloth, so that was, or somebody took a molecular cloth. That'd have been actually Squirrel Girl, but I digress. All right, some other. Let's take a look at Cosmic now and who I use there, and sort of what my recommend. Oh damn it! I did that backwards. So let's go to Cosmic. Let's go again and click on non-legendary, and then we'll talk about the characters that I did use there. So for Cosmic, I ended up going in with. I mean, these three are locked, right? Like Kestrel, Icarus, Cersei. Those characters are locks. Like I don't think that you're even really thinking anything else other than probably those three characters. I think that they're the three of the best characters in Marvel Strike Force, period. So I think that it's a no-brainer there. It's really about who are your other two characters that you want to bring in. Now, I went in with Magic. This was one of those situations, again, where I went with my heart as opposed to going with my brain here. I just love mutants, and it doesn't matter. I was like, Cosmic, non-legendary. Who is not Mystic? Deathpool's Mystic. Silver Surfer's Mystic. Oh my goodness, Doctor Strange Heartless was around right when I was going into Mystic. I was like, but when I was going into Cosmic, but I was like, he's Mystic. I can't do this, guys. So it was just, okay, well, she's mutant. I've only used one mutant so far. I'm only going to use two mutants in Legendary. So I'm going to go with Magic. So I went with my heart there as opposed to really going with logic. I actually just really like mutant characters, and that's just kind of what it comes down to. What I probably would recommend, I went with T'Challa too. I forgot to say that. I went with T'Challa here also. He actually was really good. But it's just these nodes are going to be mostly about Icarus and Cersei, and Kestrel, if she stays alive, is great. But everybody else dies, and Icarus and Cersei just stay around and do their business. Star-Lord T'Challa was useful when he was alive. It was just that he's so squishy as a character that he just doesn't stay alive. So therefore, here we are as the people today. So yeah, but I don't regret this. I don't regret T'Challa. I think he was a good character. I also use him in raids, Tech Doom raids every day too. So solid value there. If I were to make some recommendations, I would as opposed to Magic, I would say Phyla-Vell is a good option too. I like her passive because while any ally has death proof, that ally gains 50% drain. So there are two characters, right, that gain death proof. There's Icarus, there's Cersei. She could help them to basically stay alive, give them some drain, give them some more health while they're doing some damage here. So I think that would be a nice character to pair with them. The reason why I went against Phyla-Vell, though, although I could bring her up now, the reason why I went against her is because of the augmented astral energy. Icarus also takes astral energy as well. So I figured, it may not be smart or wise to even consider that. I also just came off of using a lot of bio characters too. So for instance, I used the Web Warriors, right? Like all three of the Web Warriors, I used a bio character for Legendary. So for me, it was just, okay, I gotta save on the bio gear. Although I had the astral energy available, I was like, dude, I gotta save on the bio gear right now. So I went against it. You probably could go with some other characters here too, like maybe Deathpool, but she's Mystic. Silver Surfer, I think, has seen his time. Doctor Strange Heartless is not terrible, but he's also Mystic. So you're kind of doubling down again on a lot of Mystic gear. I know there were some players that also use this character too, Ravager Stitcher. I heard he does pretty well here. But once again, it's like he's a minion. He's cheap, yes, but he's also Ravager Stitcher. I mean, I can't get behind that one. I just no matter what, I just can never get behind it, guys. But I know that there's some people that did use him and did find some good value out of it as well. So that's what I use for Cosmic. Now let's talk about who we use for Legendary, and sort of just my thoughts there. So for Legendary, I went with Omega Red, Black Bolt, Morgan Le Fay, Shuri, and I went with Rogue. And this run, man, it's Omega Red, Morgan Le Fay, and Rogue just hard carried, right? Yes, Rogue, even just at 3 yellow. Yeah, she hard carried. She landed her ability block and trauma. She landed all those other negative effects with her special. She did okay damage. She landed her stun. Her stun was incredibly useful. And because you have Shuri here, that can pop off with defense up and apply give ability energy. I placed her as a healer. She provided some solid healing. There were some times where Morgan or Omega Red and probably Rogue, right, got below 50%. She gave them the flex, and the flex will help to keep them alive. I mean, really, this run was really hard carried by Morgan, Omega Red, and Rogue, but at the same time, Shuri was the reason why they survived the nodes to be able to get through it. Although Shuri did actually finally die on the last node, which you guys probably saw in the beginning clip here. That was the first time that she died. She really survived really all the nodes. But yeah, I mean, Omega Red and Morgan Le Fay, between the ability blocks, the trauma, the health steals, I mean, they were the ones hard carrying this node completely. So in a lot of ways, Black Bolt was probably a little bit of a regret, but it was once again like, okay, I used Web Warriors early. I didn't use any other bio characters since then. I had bio gear available, and I'm at Legendary now. I'm like, who do I bring in? Who do I want to save? I want to save my mutant gear because I don't want to use it on Phoenix or Jubilee. Jubilee's expensive. I don't really want to use it on those characters. So yeah, let's bring in Black Bolt. I was pretty sold that I was going to use Shuri, and I would definitely still use Shuri now. But I think if you're looking for a 5th character, there are some other ones to consider. I think Doc Ock is okay. I just don't, if you're running into gear issues, that might be tough with tech gear because Shuri's 72 pieces, Doc Ock is 54. It's a lot of pieces between both of them. Phoenix is still kind of okay, but I think Rogue definitely slots in, and Omega Red, like those are going to be priority mutant gear. Jubilee is also okay, but I still feel like I like Rogue and Omega Red better because of what they're able to do individually with their kits, and based on them also being a little bit more relevant to the current state of the game right now, I would definitely probably be going that direction. There's really nobody else here. Maybe Iron Man, when he gets, if he actually is getting a rework, maybe he may be a consideration on this list as well. But really, I think your next Legendary, depending on when you're going in, is probably the next Horseman, right? It's probably what it is. It's probably the next Horseman that comes around. That's probably who you're going to want to select. But that kind of wraps up who I use, why I use them, some tweaks that I would have made here, and also my top recommendations, which a lot of them were already characters that I brought in, right? Biggest lessons learned is that patience is key when it comes to Marvel Strike Force here. Patience is 100% key. I am very happy that I waited to go into Dark Dimension and didn't try to rush to bring characters in. I ultimately was able to benefit from using Morgan Le Fay and Rogue in the Legendary section, which made it very easy. There were some other characters like Star-Lord, T'Challa, obviously Icarus, Cersei were there before, but once again, waiting to bring both of them in and not just trying to bring in one in. Patience is key when it comes to Dark Dimension 5, and trying to rush to do this content, I think, is something that's going to hurt your overall roster. Still prioritize arenas, still prioritize raids, and then try to use those characters for your Dark Dimension 5 runs. Yeah, I think that for me, that's the biggest lesson that I've learned here out of this whole entire thing, is just really just patience is key. Wait to get the right characters in. Pay attention to, the changes that the game is making so that you can go ahead and try to accumulate that gear. And also just learn to have fun with it, right? I think sometimes we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. This game, this really does a lot of things that prevents us from really being able to make progression as fast as we do, which can sometimes be frustrating. A lot of times can be frustrating. Sometimes though, it's a blessing in disguise, because maybe there's something better coming that you may be able to use in the future for your future content that serves your roster significantly better than going in with some of the older meta options. So those are my thoughts, guys. Let me know what your questions are if you have any. I know I went through this very fast. I just didn't want to make this a 35-minute video, so I went through this fairly quickly here. Hopefully you guys are able to get some good solid value out of it. I'm definitely excited to have Dormammu finally. Now I can start using him in Arena, I guess, considering that I beat Dormammu teams every day. I guess that's not really like a thing per se, but Scourge. I'm looking forward to being able to use him in the Scourge event. But listen, guys, appreciate you guys watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe if you haven't done so already. Hit the notification bell so that you know when the videos do go live. Until next time, guys, y'all be blessed. Y'all be safe. Dormammu! I bargained. I'm not even coming to bargain anymore, Dormammu. I came a bargain. I conquered. Got you behind. What you gonna do now?